This is the Next Bite of Life podcast, the place to be to hear personal stories from expats, digital nomads, and everybody else taking their next bite of life. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Next Bite of Life podcast. My name is Kem, and today my guest is a crazy guy from Australia by the name of Fraser. And let me introduce him first, and then we'll get to talking, and then you can see what he has to say. Hi, Bing.
Yeah, hey, Kem, how are you, lovely?
Oh, fine, thank you. I am doing very well. I'm so glad we were able to coordinate the times because I know we're on different time zones completely. Now, let everybody know, where are you right now?
I'm currently in Sydney, Australia. So, first I'd like to apologise, because I think it feels about 2 a.m. over here, but my accent is absolutely atrocious. I can't even understand what I'm saying. So everyone listening to this, buckle up and good luck. That's all I can wish you.
I wish there was a way to put captions on the podcast so that people could actually understand what you were saying.
100%.
Yeah. So now tell me, we're going to talk today about your travels, and you've had quite interesting stories and things happen to you, and you traveled for about 8 years, right, in total?
Yeah. So I've started when I was 18, and then took off, and now I'm not allowed out of the house without a helmet on. So we put one foot in front of the other and see what happens.
Well, I was really enthralled where you said you have that the Grim Reaper is on your Christmas list.
So he's not that bad a bloke. I'm telling you, once you get to know him, he's all right. He sends gifts back. You just need to keep on his good side, and he'll keep you down here.
I'm sure he sends the gifts back. That I can believe. Now, you grew up in Sydney, right?
Yeah, no, I was very, very lucky. I got two great parents who I haven't really repaid the favors they've shown me, unfortunately. But I was raised, I guess, on paper very well. But what came out the other end, geez, it was an experiment gone wrong, unfortunately. So and they went, Brad, just go off travel and let the other side of the world deal with you.
Exactly.
And that's why I have to keep hopping, unfortunately. No one will take me at the moment.
So what was it like? You left at 18. You said, what was it that was the trigger that says to you, it's time to go?
Well, it's funny. Like, the one serious thing, I'll try and keep it lighthearted on the podcast, but I was always told growing up, the one thing you've got to do is travel when you're young and single. And then I'm like, well, let's go and party, eh? And then you go and do it, and then you go and do it, and everyone's like, what are you doing with your life? And I'm like,
well, it's true, yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm taking the one piece of advice I'm constantly given, and we'll keep keep going until they drag us down and put a brick around the foot, I guess. So let's see what happens.
Well, I can understand at the age of 18, you've got your wild oats to sow and everything. What country did you start out in? Like, what was the first place that you went to?
The United States of America. Like
no!
all great fantasies.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. We were thrown in the deep end, I guess. So I went and did a summer camp up in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
Did a Jewish camp, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So it was good to kind of get out of my comfort zone, because where I grew up, we're not really exposed to much of Jewish faith. So I was like, well, that'll be an interesting experience, and it was. So first, you're meeting up with people. It was predominantly from people from New Zealand, the UK, and Australia, and then a lot of Israelis as well. So it was a massive melting pot. And when you're 18 and ignorant, never seen any part of the world, it was absolutely awesome. So it was a great educational experience, I guess.
Oh, that's great. So how long did you stay there then? Or did they kick you out?
That was 4 months. I was a good little boy back then.
Okay, cool.
I was always on my best behaviour.
Okay.
So we yeah, did that for 4 months and went traveling for a month. And then that was when the US were like, all right, Brad, you need to take a couple of years off, brother. See you in a couple of years. So yeah, and then I came back. I've done two subsequent trips to the United States since then, I guess.
Oh, okay. So you really like it, I guess. What would you say was
I
your
love it.
favorite state there?
Mississippi,
No,
baby.
really?
I love it. That's where I
Oh,
studied.
is it
I
because of the
studied in the
girls or is it because of the partying?
absolutely everything. It's funny because it's like I said, Australia is not a very political place. And then I grew up, politics, religion. You don't talk about it. Then I went and again, fairly young, fairly naive, was thrown straight into the deep south. And
Yes.
I was just like, what? That was a slap across the face, that one was. So, yeah, and I'll tell you, I guess, later on in the episode what happened early on, but it
Okay.
was a great experience for you, I guess, to be, again, thrown in the deep end and get your eyes open to a different view of the world, I guess, when you believe you're jumping just across the pond into your neighbor's house. And then it was like, well, fair enough, this is different.
Yeah,
Then you start talking, you start conversations, you learn, and then again, the best thing about travel, you meet people from all different backgrounds, you understand a different way of living, and you understand that there isn't a correct way to live, just different ways.
exactly. It's true because like growing up too, I remember what you saw about Australia. It was Bondi Beach, and it was all these things, and I
Yeah.
pictured in my head like Baywatch, and then you go there and you see it's different, and then so I can imagine it must have been completely different also because you're fed so many things on television, and that's what you think.
Now, unfortunately, Bondi Beach isn't what the TV shows make them out to be. You
Exactly.
still get ugly faces like me dancing around, so you have to deal with it, unfortunately.
so so after that American experience, did you think there's nothing else that could top this, or did you find another country that even went beyond that?
Well, I write about that in one of my stories. It's just like everyone's constantly going back or revisiting a place where they've just, found their perfect 10.
Yes.
And then, unfortunately, a place will very rarely live up to that hype again. But then you'll realize that Europe, Africa, Asia, they'll all get you just as, different flavors for different libidos. So
Yeah,
they're all as good as each other, just a different dance.
that's great, and
So
that's a great way to think about things. That's you have that open mind, which is good because a lot of people have problems adjusting when they go visit something new because they're like, oh, this is what I expect, and it's not that way, so I hate it, and so they will not open their mind to like, this is the way it's done here, and you are here, so you need to figure out how to.
everywhere you travel, you are a visitor in their home, and you
Exactly.
must be courteous and adapt to where you are.
Thank you
And I
for
promise
saying
you,
that. It's true.
you'll have just as good a time wherever you go if you have that mindset. I believe, anyway.
Yes. Well, you've had some really, how do I put this nicely? Some really amazing and weird and dangerous experiences, right?
Yeah,
So
I
tell
wouldn't
us some
call it
of them.
amazing.
Yeah, I
I wouldn't call it amazing, but it's
know.
yeah, like I said, my first trip, I guess, was when I was younger. I went to Madrid and Spain and did a bit of Europe. But my first major trip, when I went out by myself, out of my comfort zone, I guess, was the Mississippi experience.
Okay.
And in the first month, um, I got I lost all my teeth. I got them all knocked out, and then I got held at gunpoint. That wasn't
Oh,
too much fun. And
I
then
can
I went to
imagine.
jail.
Oh my God.
And then I went to jail, so that wasn't too much fun. And then I really struggled with the acclimatizing to it, especially the cold. The cold, we take a back seat from all the legality issues.
Yeah, no, 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 no,
we
no. We're not. We're gonna go back to the legality
we
issues. Yeah.
we we jumped from the Australian summer, which was 40 degrees plus. It was like a major heat wave in Australia. And then I turned up to Mississippi and it was snowing. I'm just like, whoa, where's the
You don't even have the clothes, right?
exactly right. And then when I went to Central America, so that was my next major trip. I was like, oh, couldn't get too much worse than the start of the first trip. And then I I went schizophrenic in on again a little trip. I don't know how G-rated this podcast is. Sorry, but we might need to leave that one to the book maybe.
Okay.
And then I got robbed 5 times. And I hit my head and cracked my skull open, which led to a 2-year concussion. So that was an interesting experience. But then that was at the very start of my trip, and I had a 9-month trip planned. So I had to travel for 8 months with a really bad brain injury, which I don't recommend. That's
yeah.
If I have any advice for anyone, if you have a brain injury, just go home. Just it's not worth it, guys. Okay, I'm telling you.
At any point,
did you the other end of that plane?
Did it occur to you, you know what, my brain is hurting? I should probably go back home now? At any point, did you think that, or you were just determined to end your trip?
Well, I wasn't really good at putting thoughts together at that stage, unfortunately. So I was,
well, yeah, with a brain injury, yeah.
The sane part of my brain, that's I'm pretty sure it's still in Nicaragua, in fairness. But yeah, it wasn't really. It was an idea that passed my mind, but then my ego was like, Brad, mate, honestly, stop twitching and keep moving, all right?
Oh
and we made it through, but yeah, I don't know what.
But you had to suffer the repercussions for a couple of years, didn't you?
Majorly, and rightfully so.
I bet your parents had something to say about that.
Yeah, no, I try and keep a lid on that one. You have to tell them what they need to hear.
Okay, so anybody who's listening or watching and doesn't know Bing's parents will be able to keep your secret. But if anybody watching is now, you're gonna have all the stories in your upcoming book called Unprotected Treks. Now, tell us about that, please.
Bang on. Yeah, well, I've pretty much been journaling my whole, escapades. So all my escapades. So I sat down and I started putting them all together, and I started sending them to a few friends, and they're just like, "This is all right." I was like, "It's not, not really." But then they were like, "No, keep going." And then I kept putting a whole bunch of stories together, and then they were just like, "Mate, you should give it a go." So then I went to England for 12 months. Put a book together, pretty much spat on a page, and I'm trying to sell it now. So that's my story, I guess. It's a horrible piece of literature that I don't recommend anyone to ever buy. But if you like fart jokes and one man's mental capitulation, then buy Unprotected Treks. You'll love it.
Well, I certainly was intrigued just reading some of these stories and looking and going, I cannot believe this guy went through all these things and he didn't just call it a day. I'll be like, you know what? I think I wasn't meant to travel. I would have quit after the first month, I think. But, you were young, you were gung-ho, and you wanted to see the world. Now, this book, is it out now, or is it coming out, or is it going to be available all over?
31st of January, everyone. Get in line. It'll be in ebook format, in what do you call it, paperback, and for those illiterate amongst us like me, it'll be an audiobook as well. So
cool.
I'm doing putting myself through the paces of an audiobook at the moment. And for an illiterate Australian who's drunk most of the time, it's very difficult because you can't understand a single word I say. It's awful. Absolutely trash.
Yeah, so maybe you need to have a few drinks and then listen to the audiobook if you don't want to read it.
I think I just need a native speaker to come and just be like, Brad, go and stand in the corner. I'll get you tomorrow and I'll do this for you. Because that's the only way it's going to be at all audible. Or awful, guys. Don't do it, guys. Don't put yourself through it.
Yeah, just buy the Kindle book, or do the Kindle, or and have somebody read it to you. Maybe have a friend read it to you. That might be a better way to handle it. So now tell me,
probably the best.
When this book comes out, are you going to be like now going, okay, that's it. I've done everything. I've written everything. I don't think I could ever top this sort of stories. So I'm not going to travel anymore.
No, I've written already enough for 5 books, but I had to kind of make I had to kind of mold it into I guess paperback format so that the stories kind of flowed onto each other. So I'm hoping to just kind of keep releasing the debauchery, and then as I go on, get more and more
Well,
disowned by my family, and we'll see what happens.
exactly. Now, if you're listening to to this podcast or you're watching, you want to check out his website, which is bingfraser.com. And that's Fraser, Fraser, bingfraser.com. And you can get a taste of some of the things that he writes about, but you can also get a visual aspect of what of of
That's
his
actually a very good idea.
yeah,
No one buy the book without reading
unless
some of the website first, because
exactly,
you are
because
just throwing
really
money down the drain otherwise.
yeah.
Okay, don't. That's hard-earned money, guys. Don't throw it towards me. Okay, go and buy yourself a beer or something.
Yeah, because I'm like anybody who sends an email, I'm watching him sitting on the pot, and he's got a big, you've got a cigar, and and I'm like, okay, anybody who can sit, the bog, and have a cigar with a hat on, you got to talk to that person, and you got to sort of feel what kind of a person he is. Huh?
Don't feel for me. Feel for the bloke who had to take that photo. The poor bloke.
Oh, it's very
Honestly, Jesus.
true.
Well, that's what
It's
you'll realize throughout some of my stories. A guy named Dylan, and he literally had to drag me around like a brain dead puppy all through Central America. He pretty much just put a leash on me and
oh
went,
my
"Bing,
god.
it's time to move, brother. All right, come on, mate." So this story's just I'm donating 20% of my profits to him, the poor
Oh,
guy,
good. He
because
deserves it, right? He deserves
yeah.
it. He certainly deserves it. Now,
No.
now, where was the country that you stayed the longest on this 8-year trip?
Well, it would probably be the UK, but I went over there to write pretty much. So I was there for I think 13 months. I was just writing and playing football, so I was pretty well behaved over there. I didn't have too many stories, unfortunately, but tried to learn my ABCs and try to string a few words together, and that was
Now,
pretty much my time there. But outside of that, when actually traveling again, it would be the United States. I did obviously 6 months studying in Mississippi. Then we did a 3 month camper van trip with my 3 best mates.
mhm,
So we went all over for that. And then obviously the 6 months that I mentioned before up in Pennsylvania.
mhm.
So yeah, seen plenty of the states. Spent a couple of months in Mexico, so saw
Okay.
plenty of Mexico. And then besides that, it's pretty much a month here and
Month.
there in different places. I kind of try and keep the feet moving.
Yeah.
So
Now, talking about the UK, how was the cost of living there? I mean, you were young, so you probably didn't have high expectations as far as like your accommodations and anything. Was it really expensive?
what? No, that's why I went and lived up in Newcastle, which is up the very north.
Okay.
I'm a big Newcastle fan, but unfortunately, in the sorry Newcastle football
Yeah. Yeah.
soccer for the Americans
Yeah.
listening, and then
Yeah.
yeah, I was a big Newcastle fan, so I went and lived up there, and it's very cheap
Okay.
comparatively to the rest of the country.
Well,
But
that's good.
again, didn't check the weather. It gets cold up there. It gets really cold
Yeah.
up there.
Yes.
Yeah,
But by now you
if
must
you're
have
like
had
me and
clothing, right?
like the warm blooded climates, I don't recommend it. 100%. I had to. All I packed was a bag full of shorts and thongs and t-shirts, and I was just like, "Well, this isn't gonna do." I
Oh
remember
no.
I went up to our first game of football. So what was that? Sorry, my screen's a bit
Yeah,
wobbly.
it froze for a second. That's
Yeah,
okay.
sorry. In my first game of football, sorry about that. That's probably my side.
No.
Yeah, my first game of football up there, we were playing in the snow, and I've never played in anything below 20 degrees. The bloke put in was a double studded foot through my shin pad, and it almost broke my leg. So I was in the freezing cold, and I'm just like, this isn't for me, guys.
Oh
This is
my
not for me.
God.
So, but
And
the
once
point is,
again,
do your
you didn't think
research
of
before
going
you
back
move to
home,
a place,
right?
guys. All right, because yeah, don't like.
You're just like your
Oh
whole
no, God
body
no.
is,
Once you're in, you're in.
yeah, your whole body's just an accident waiting to happen, whether it's, your bones, your face, your teeth, like everything is just waiting to break down on you, isn't it? Now,
Yeah, pretty much. It's just me trying to take myself together
yeah.
throughout the journey.
Now, tell me, Bing, when you traveled
Uh,
and you stayed in places for about a month, was it like more like hostels? Did you stay in hotels, or did you stay with friends? How was that? Because it must have been, very expensive.
no, I'm traveling. It's pretty much the cheapest of the cheap. Whatever the dirtiest, stingiest way to travel is, that's what we're doing. You
Okay.
find log onto the internet and you say, "Are there any dark alleys that will take me?" And they'll be like, "Yeah, $3, mate." I'm like, "You
Well,
ripper, let's do that." So,
I
but
guess that
it's
explains
yeah, no,
that explains some of the accidents and the robberies and all that stuff, right?
that's right, eh? But yeah, no, all hostels. So I pretty much just we cram about 47 people into the one room, and
Oh
then if they can
my
shut the
God.
door, they say, "Good luck, I'll see
Oh.
you in the morning." So that allows you to spend a couple of more dollars at the bar. There's
Absolutely.
another travel tip. Okay.
Because yeah, exactly. So this is all stuff that's going to be in the book. Because it's going to show you how not to travel, right?
That is whatever advice I ever give you, do the opposite.
Opposite.
Okay,
Okay,
this
cool.
is not the way to travel, guys. Stay in your hotels. Stay in your. No, just stay safe,
All
guys. Okay,
inclusive.
throw your
Say
helmet
your
on and stay well.
don't
Yeah.
mess with the natives. Everything like
Mm-mm.
that. Okay. Now, again, in all these travels, which city or country would you say was the cheapest, even on your budget?
Cheapest would probably be Nicaragua,
Oh,
but comparatively is Guatemala, and Guatemala is my favorite place that I've ever been.
really?
I love it,
Which
absolutely love
part
it.
did you
From
stay in?
Samuk Champagne is a place. You get the, I guess, the chicken buses there, and then you just kind of pile into the back of some, what they call a taxi, but it's pretty much just like an unregistered, unfit for the road bus,
Uh-huh,
like
uh-huh.
dodgy shack with wheels on it,
Oh yeah.
and they drive you into the middle of the jungle, and then there are just all these pretty much they are hostels, but they're kind of outdoor cabins, I guess,
Hmm.
and you are just like beating off tarantulas while you're in there, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah, but
Reminds
coming
you of
from
home.
Australia, were you okay with that?
Yeah,
You're like,
yeah.
hey,
No, it's
look.
good. Always good to cuddle something on the way to sleep. So that was all right. But
Wow.
in Samuk Champagne, it's famous for this. It's like a long, really long, slow moving river, which you donut down. So you jump in a donut, and it's again just absolutely stunning. The surroundings and the trees, the animals that you see, and they have the locals. They swim out while you're going down and hand you a beer. So then
Oh, you're
you're
kidding me.
paying them money. So it's pretty much a moving bar, and
Wow.
yeah, it's absolutely stunning. So, but then all around that area, there are all these caves, and there's the waterfalls, and the whole place just looks like it's out of Avatar. It's just absolutely stunning.
Oh,
So
nice.
that
I've
I really recommend.
really. Is it a place that you said to yourself, like, did you ever stop and think in any of these places, you know what, I could live here? Did you ever think that?
My Spanish is embarrassingly bad. So it's I've tried and I can get by, but it's not good enough to live, and I feel if I was to live somewhere, I think I'd need to speak the language well enough to,
And
at
you're
least be
saying to
able to buy
yourself,
a beer.
you can barely speak Australia, mate, and how are you going to
That's
learn
exactly
that?
I can't even speak English, so it's not feasible for me to move to Guatemala. Um, there are places in the States I could definitely move, but throughout, yeah, again, I think I'd struggle with the language barrier when it comes to the Spanish and Latino countries, I guess. So, um, yeah, to answer your question, probably no.
No.
Short no, I don't think so.
So not even okay. So you said you mentioned the states. Any of those states that you said, even if you just thought, could you live in Mississippi again for a long time and just say, or is there one state that you liked even more than that?
I could live anywhere in the South. I think I really did like it. Um, I think there's a lot of ignorance around the South, which is fair enough. Like there are some bad people and there are some bad hangovers from the historical. Some terrible things that have happened in the past, and there are some people still caught in that time, I guess. And again, this is getting way too heavy, and I'm certainly not someone who should be speaking on this.
Yeah,
But I
you just want to have fun, right?
but the people that I met down there were just the most accommodating, open-minded, brilliant people you'd ever meet. And like every place I turn up, there'd be a case of beer and dinner waiting for you. The
And
Southern
to you, that
hospitality
was it,
is such a thing.
right?
Well, that it was just the welcoming. Like everyone was just so nice. Everyone will have a conversation with you, whether you agree or disagree. They were just the people I met. I don't know if I was just fortunate with who I came across, but I was just I was made to feel at home everywhere I went, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Like
That's great. I would say,
I
yeah,
became
Americans are very friendly. They're very welcoming.
oh without a doubt, and it's something that you should be proud of, and Americans should be proud of, and namesake worth living up to. And yeah, throughout the South, it was absolutely brilliant. But even through Central America, the central of United States of America, um, even as far as Chicago, I love Chicago. I thought it was brilliant. And then the national parks you guys are blessed with is absolutely stunning. Your Yosemites, your Redwood National Forests, like the country's got everything. It's bloody
You're a
great,
very
guys.
outdoorsy. You're a very outdoorsy person. You like all the
Mm.
nature and everything like that. Because where you
Oh,
are now, you've got a lot of nature around you, don't you?
without a doubt. So again, we're very lucky here as well. There's just you can walk 5K and you'll be, you know, in the middle of the bush kind of thing, and then you walk in the other direction, you're at the beach, and you just
Mm.
we've got Again, we're just blessed. I think
The kookaburras,
one thing
you
every
mentioned.
we've got. Oh, I said we're woken up every morning by the kookaburras and the cockatoos, and
Oh,
it's absolutely stunning. So we're a bit further away from the kangaroos, unfortunately. For the we can't live up to the perfect Australian stereotype, but we're going okay. We're
do you have
trying our
the
best to.
Do you have the big spiders?
Oh yeah. Well, we're lucky. The bigger the spiders are here, the less deadly they seem to be.
Oh
So we've
yeah.
got what are called the huntsman spider, which are about they can get to about the size of your face. But
Oh my
they're
God.
cuddly and they kill all the other spiders in the house, and they're the perfect pet, really. So they keep all the bad ones
So it's sort of like
away.
a wall gecko,
Exactly, yeah, 100%. They're these cute fuzzy things, and
Oh,
they just want to hang
great.
out.
See, that
Yeah,
was one of the
so
reasons I said I could never live in Australia. You guys have way too many bugs. I mean, I'm running from a spider, so thank you. No.
yeah, no, we have to battle through the forbidden forest to get to work in the morning. So it's not too bad. I've made it this far.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So now, then you're at home now. You're saying to yourself, I'm back home. Everything is great here. Any other trips planned in the near future after the pandemic?
Oh,
Hopefully.
as soon as I can, the chain comes off. I'm going straight to South America.
Oh,
I want
yeah?
to do. I was meant to be doing Asia on the way home from England.
Uh-huh.
Um, but obviously the old COVID
Pandemic.
foot stomp came down, and then had to return home. But again, I was lucky as anything. Like I came home, did my quarantine, and that was pretty much it. Where my friend was in London and came
Hmm.
home 3 weeks, or was meant to come home 3 weeks after me. And then he just couldn't leave. That was pretty much
Oh
when all the
my
borders started
God.
coming up. So his flight got bumped a month, and then another month, and then another month, and it
I
was
can
4 months
imagine the
later.
expense. Oh my God.
hmm
Oh,
So it was again, he was fortunate in the way that his work was still willing to take him on in England. So
oh, good.
he was okay in that sense, but so many people would have been
Yeah.
unfortunate,
Yeah,
packed up their entire life ready to go,
exactly.
and sorry mate,
Wow.
you're not allowed
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
so
I have
so yeah,
friends the
I
other
was
way around who are stuck in Australia and they live here, so they can't get back.
yeah,
So,
is that
but
right?
luckily they're from there, so it's not as bad
Mhm.
as somebody who's not from there. Yeah, it's been
No,
really
that's right.
devastating.
Besides
Now, has it
besides the
affected you
spiders,
too
there are worse
much?
places to be stuck.
Yes,
No,
that's
no.
very
Again,
true.
no, again we our government's done a good job. I
Yeah,
think you know everyone's too quick to criticise and everything else. Our businesses are slowly opening back up. The government's supported small businesses throughout the pandemic, and there have been some faults here and there, but again, I think people are a bit too quick to criticize, especially
very
when we're
true.
dealing with something that no one has a clue what would.
Thank
When it
you.
first
That's
hit,
what I
we didn't
say.
know. mm,
Nobody
we didn't
knows,
know what
even the
the
people in charge.
we didn't know what the death rate was going to be. We didn't know how contagious it was, and all this. And then everyone's all of a sudden got the right answer, and you're
Yeah,
like, mate,
exactly.
I'd
Yeah.
like to see you be holding that. Like, I don't know if you've been following what's happening in New Zealand with Jacinda Ardern, who's just an absolutely amazing woman, outstanding prime minister. But she shut the borders down straight away. And
Yeah.
if they all of a sudden this turned around and just was as bad as the everyday cold,
Yeah.
she's all of a sudden destroyed an entire economy, and she's the villain. But because it turned out the way that it did, she's the
Exactly.
hero,
She's a
and
hero.
rightfully
Yeah.
so. Like,
It's true.
and she was praised and rightfully praised because she put people's lives
People
ahead
first.
of the economy and everything
Yeah.
else. And she deserves everything that she got. But
Yeah.
she did it at a time where no one knew what we were dealing with.
That's
And
very
I think
true.
again, people are very quick to criticize or condemn when everyone's just trying to do the best they can, guys. Okay,
Yeah.
a bit of gratitude. And
I
again,
know.
throughout this, like how many people are starving? We're very lucky to be born in the time that
Yes.
we are.
Exactly.
There are certainly things that we could be doing, we should be doing better, but we're all trying to do our best, guys.
I know. Exactly. That's all we
Bit of
can ask
gratitude,
for, you know? Now,
Yeah.
then let me leave you with this last thought. Okay. First, second to the last.
Mate, keep him going. I got all
Yeah.
night. Let's party.
What would be your advice for an 18-year-old who wants to do exactly what Bing did? How would you, what would you say to that person, to that youngster who wants to discover the world at the age of 18?
Well, one, if you're trying to do it the way I did it, you're a moron. Don't do it the way I did it. Don't do it the exact opposite way. Yeah. Anyway, but I'm a big believer in you've got to make your own mistakes. I've been given the greatest advice from the greatest people. Didn't listen to a single word. Don't care. Not interested. Then I went and I was like, probably should have listened to that. Well, my head's cut open and everything else. But if you're 18, go out, see the world for one. That is the greatest education you will ever get. Everyone puts way too much currency into a formal education. That'll come. You've got plenty of time for that, but go and see the world. You will not get it. You realize how wrong you are. And too many people at the moment don't realize how wrong they are.
Yes,
And then
everybody
the
thinks they're
more
right.
wrong the more wrong you realize you are, the less opinions you have, and the more you will learn. Well, to anyone who plans on doing what I'm doing, just don't. Okay, whatever I have done, don't be an idiot. Okay. But just if you're trying to replicate what I did, you're a moron. You are a moron. Okay, like go out there, see the world, and just open yourself up to as many different cultures and experiences as you can, because you'll realize how wrong you are about everything. And that is the most important thing in life, is to realize not where you're right, but where you're wrong. Because where you're right is such a narrow bracket, and you'll realize how few people live up to that bracket. But the more wrong you realize, the more open-minded you'll become, and the better your life will be, I promise you. Because with putting your ego aside and opening yourself up to as much knowledge as you can, you'll realize that there's more than one way to live in, and there's a lot of right ways to be living, and there are a lot of wrong ways to be living. But open yourself up, go and travel, go and see as much of the world as you can, and leave your ego at the door, and wear a helmet if you hit your head a lot.
Yeah, excellent advice. I mean, that is really excellent.
Can I also preface this advice with being, I'm the last person you should be taking advice from with anything, absolutely anything. So whatever I just told you, throw it out the window. Take it or leave it, guys. Okay, I'm no professor.
No, actually, no. Coming from the adult, reasonable side, take his. Actually, this is the one time I can say, go ahead and take his advice, because it's a really good one. No, really, a lot of people don't realize that. Everybody seems to think they're right, and so everybody's got their own opinion, but you can't force that upon everybody else, and you really need to be open-minded and realize that you may not be right, really.
I think the other thing is, you don't realize how much of the world is spurted out to you from a certain opinion. Whereas if you go and see it yourself, you can come to your own conclusions. And
Yes.
that is very, very important in this life, going out and making your own conclusions, not taking some secondhand advice from someone else, especially people in authority.
Yeah. Fight the fight. No, I'm just kidding. No, really, that makes sense. So thank you so much, Bing. Once again, his website is bingfraser.com. And you can also find him on Instagram and see some of the more risque pictures that I was talking about.
Yeah,
the man
guys,
is naked.
Stay off my Instagram, guys. Yeah. It's not worth it. You might need to take an extra long shower afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, because you won't be able to scrub the filth out of your eyes. Unfortunately, don't do it.
And remember, the book is going to be on Amazon, and it's called Unprotected Treks. And it's a series of short stories about his amazing travels and risque adventures and his nakedness in all these places.
Don't buy it, guys. Do not buy it. Okay, stay away. Stay as far away as you can. Or if you buy it, just burn it. Okay, you might be doing the rest of the world a favor.
Burn it. Yes, exactly. After you gouge your eyes out.
Exactly right.
So thank you so much for being on here, Bing. It's been really fun, and I wish you lots of success with that book. I plan on getting a copy because I want to find out all the things I wasn't able to find out on your website, and so I can give advice to my nieces and nephews on what not to do and how not to travel. And I'll be like, see this guy, if you ever see him, run. So
run away. That's it. Cam, thank you so much for having us on. It's been an absolute blast. So
thank you. It's been great. We'll see you, everybody listening and watching the video. Don't forget, on the website, the blog post that goes with this podcast will be on the Nextbiteoflife.com website. You can see how to get in touch with Bing, his websites, and all the information that we discussed on the show. So make sure you do that. And it'll also be on the YouTube channel, so you can watch it too. You can see what it looks like if you're just listening to this show. So thank you again, Bing. Everybody, thank you for listening. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. Goodbye. We'll see you on the next one. Bye.